The New Patriotic Party accuses government and the NDC of a deliberate strategy to reduce the number of first-time voters in the party's strongholds.
And these obvious criminal acts are being perpetrated in some cases with the involvement of government officials, including regional ministers and DCs.
They say the NDC and government have employed thugs made up of macho men to cause violence and intimidate NPP constituency executives and potential registrants in the ongoing limited voters registration exercise. So who is behind these mishaps in the ongoing limited voters registration exercise that the NPP have evidence for those allegations? If it turns out to be true, what could be the dire implications on the 2016 elections? We'll be probing further with the NPP and get responses from the NDC, plus the police and independent views on this matter. This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. The Electoral Commission's limited biometric voter registration exercise since it commenced on April 28 has been characterized by accusations, counter-accusations, assaults and death threats by the two main political rivals. Both the NDC and the NPP have been engaging in exchanging of words and accusations in either getting their supporters registered or contesting the eligibility of registrants. We can listen to the NPP now.
Very unfortunate developments in the ongoing registration exercise is the unleashing of thugs and macho men to cause violence and intimidate potential registrants in some of our strongholds. This appears to be carefully tailored strategy by the NDC to reduce the number of voters in our strongholds. And these obvious criminal acts are being perpetrated in some cases with the involvement of government officials, including regional ministers and DCs. For instance, NDC hired macho men on motorbikes and wielding machetes, scattered EC registration machines at the Jinase Registration Center in the Asokwa constituency of the Ashanti region. At the council hall in the Apioso electoral area in the Ejura-Seche-Dumasi constituency, NDC hired thugs resorted to throwing stones to disrupt the registration exercise and to scare away potential registrants. A similar incident happened at Banda in the Brown-Afo region, where the MP for the area brought in macho men to intimidate our polling agents in the full glare of the police, who failed to take action as usual. At Kukwom in the Asonafo South constituency of the Brown-Afo region, Honorable Eric Opoku, the regional minister, brought in macho men to attack our constituency executives. Some were beaten while others were given death threats. In fact, our polling agents also had to run for their dear lives while the registration exercise went on. And this is something that Eric Opoku, Collins Dada do it all the time. Our position, ladies and gentlemen, we are prepared to do everything possible to ensure the success of the ongoing registration exercise. But we are very worried about the lukewarm attitude of some of the security agencies in allowing obvious wrongdoings and criminal acts to take place at the registration centers. We are particularly worried about what will happen in the November general elections if we can witness such scale of violence and intimidation being masterminded by officials of government and being unleashed in the full glare of the police. We are not asking for any favors from the police, for God's sake. But the haste at which they arrest our people, the haste at which they remand our people who in their thinking have fallen foul of the law, I think that we as citizens of this country also deserve that people who clearly have violated the laws and their names have been mentioned. And a typical example is Hanabisu's driver, where tax arrested medical practitioners who had moved from Ashanti region into that constituency to offer medical services to citizens there. They were arrested, sent to the backyard of Hanabisu's house. The driver was identified, and as we speak now, nothing has been done about it. Colin's elder brother has also been mentioned, and it is something that the police is aware. This attitude obviously leaves us no room than to also organize ourselves to make sure that our people are protected. So this sermon about dismantling of vigilante and all that, I think that the police and the National Security Agency must look at it again. Because if openly people are attacked from our side and nothing is done by the police to arrest those involved, but if even internal difficulties amongst ourselves, the police is ready to issue arrest warrants, but they are not ready to issue arrest warrants for people who are on the side of government. And I don't think that we are going to continue to tolerate such actions by the police.
And that was John Boydu speaking for the NPP. On the phone line is George Lawson, who is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. And on the other line is Superintendent of Asare from the Ghana Police Service. Good evening to you, gentlemen. I'll start with George Lawson. George, what do you have to say to these accusations that you have been trying to intimidate people and you have employed tax made up of macho men to cause violence at the ongoing registration exercise at the centers?
Thank you very much. These are all false claims, and he claims these are a stronghold. Ejia is our stronghold. Banda, he mentions our stronghold. I don't know where he's mentioning the other place. Please go to Ewutu Senya West, specifically the Senya traditional area, and see the mayhem that has been unleashed on our people. Go there and go and find out. Then why minors are being registered and our people cannot even pick a complaint form or challenge form. You cannot. Find out from there. And they're talking about what? All what he's saying is all, false. Are you saying that the police issued arrest warrants or warrants? Were we the person who was it an NDC person who slapped the Manshia? Is it North or South MP? Is it not their own regional DSEC chairman? So if an arrest warrant is issued for his arrest, I mean, what is it? So I don't understand what he's saying. They just want to, they always throw dust, always throw dust into the eyes of the public. What he's saying, there's no proof of what he's saying. He mentioned Colin's Elder, and all what he's saying is not true. And he's talking of the police should take a second look at vigilante groups. Oh, they should there. Bring this. We'll also make sure we'll protect ourselves. We have been intimidated, and then, violence acts. You see some of our members wounded and others. We've reported to the police. So if you think your members have been intimidated or something that has been unleashed on them, where do you go? You go to the police. So many violent acts have characterized this limited registration. And our people have been victims. And we've reported to the appropriate court.
George,
yes?
I'll have you hold because I have Sami Ewuku here in the studio with me. Sami, George is talking about you not having evidence. Do you have evidence to back your allegations that the NDC is causing this kind of mayhem at the centers?
Well, thank you, and good evening as well to your cherished viewers. If you go to the Apioso electoral area in Ejura Seche Dumasi, NDC high tax resorted to throwing stones to disrupt the registration exercise.
But how are you able to tell that they were NDC
our
men?
people live in the communities with them. So these are not people that you can say you've never met them before, you don't know where they are coming from. Again, if you go to Honorable Collins Dawode's constituency, his brother has been accused of leading NDC thugs to intimidate, brutalize our supporters. If you fast forward to Hannah Biso's constituency, some of our rural canvassers and campaigners who were doing health screening afterwards and were returning to their place of abode were also abducted. He is complaining about some instances where he suspects that some people of the MPP stock had also intimidated their people. What we are saying is clear. The NPP as a political party is not a diplomatic institution. We have absolute confidence in the police and security agencies, but their conduct in this exercise, as far as the registration process is concerned, leaves much to be desired. If you go to our stronghold in the Ashanti region, several instances in Asawase constituency, where you have Asokore Mampong, a couple of days ago, the exercise was disrupted. Electoral materials were vandalized. You cannot tell me that in our own stronghold, we will be perpetrating that violence on ourselves. Okay. It doesn't make a lot of sense to us.
So this brings the police into the discussion, and I have Superintendent Sifas Arthur on the phone. Superintendent, how do you respond to these allegations that the police are looking on and are even encouraging this kind of mishaps at the centers?
Hello?
Superintendent, you are on today's big story, and I'm asking what you say to allegations that your men on the ground are looking on and are even encouraging some of these mayhems being caused at the centers.
Yeah, thank you, and I say good evening to your listeners. Let me put it on record that the police are not looking on unconcerned why crime is being committed. If I should state it, let me say that the police have made some arrests. As I speak, the investigation prosecution subcommittee of the National Election Security Task Force is working. Some of the personnel are touring the entire country, investigating some of these allegations of racism, and at other times making arrests. So I can assure you that the police are not looking on unconcerned. In fact, secondly, even though as far as registration is concerned, my information is that the police doesn't have any real part to play as far as provision of security at the registration centers is concerned. The police have taken the initiative to provide some amount of security. And it's as a result of this that we have been able to prevent a lot of these occurrences, and we have made a few arrests, and we are proceeding to investigate, conduct further investigations, and arrest those who have been able to escape after having committed one or two offenses related to this registration exercise.
But specifically in the areas, for instance, that Sami Uku is mentioning, he mentioned Anabisu's constituency, he mentioned Collins Dawode's constituency. We've heard about Asawase and Jomoro. Have you had reports of such incidents in those areas? For instance, in Jomoro, they talked about Ivorians being carried into the country to come and register as Ghanaians and a whole lot. Have you had reports of such incidents?
We don't know about any Ivorian being carried to come and vote. If there is any such illegal person, or illegitimate person to come and do this registration exercise, it is up to the Electoral Commission to indicate that and take the appropriate step. We are to listen or take a word from the electoral officials, should there be, or the registration officials, should there be any infringement, unless, of course, there is a clear case of crime being committed before us, in which case we don't listen to the electoral officials or the registration officials before we act. But I can tell you that we are doing our best. I've told you about the instance where a few people have been arrested. I've also indicated the instance where some of those who have gone underground after having committed offense are being looked for. They are conducting investigations. Personnel from the investigation prosecution subcommittee of the National Election Security Task Force are also abroad looking for people and conducting investigations. So let me allay the fears of all parties to this registration exercise, that the police are not going to sit unconcerned and look on while people take the laws into their own hands and commit acts of crime, and that we shan't be selective in our dealings with criminals.
Well, many thanks to you, Superintendent Asare. He's Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service. Back to you, Judge Lawson. The ASP, Superintendent Asare, has pointed out that indeed they've made some arrests. And you heard Samir Uku mentioning some areas. And he says that there are people who know them. It's not like they're just purporting or assuming that those people are NDC people, but they can confirm that these people are NDC. And again, it's not only the NPP that's accusing the NDC. The CPP has also accused the NDC of doing same.
Thank you very much. Currently, I'm in Jomoro, and what they are saying is wrong. They are rather bringing the people. And when they bring the people are more sympathetic towards our cause. We are trying to look for the numbers of the vehicles. When we get them, I will show you pictures of those vehicles that they are using to bring the people. I'm currently in Jomoro. So what they are saying, Samia is in Accra, just calling Woof where there's no Woof. They are all in Accra. I am in Jomoro as I speak to you now. And what they are saying is false.
How about the other constituencies that they mentioned?
Yes. Samia is just dreaming. What happened that she bought people that 2008 with Gaddafi's money, she thinks it's the same thing that is happening now. But why she's not getting that is why, yes, they are doing it. But we are very vigilant. And again, whatever they bring, most of the people are sympathetic towards our cause, isn't it? So that is why they are now crying wolf. But we are not. So you can come to I'm currently in Jomoro. You can come and see what is happening there, whether people are here.
But Samuel Uku mentioned other areas. He mentioned Hanabisu's constituency. He mentioned Collins Dowder's constituency. And he mentioned Asawase. And he's the Bono regional minister has also been mentioned of helping some thugs. How do you respond to all of these?
Thank you very much. Asawase is not their stronghold. It's our stronghold. We always win in Asawase, both presidential and parliamentary. So it can't be their stronghold. So how can he say that violence is being perpetrated in Asawase, which is their stronghold? That is false. Again, if you think the other places, report to the police. Is it not mentioning their regional chairman slapping or brutalizing their MP? So is it the NDC people who brutalize their MP? Is it not their regional chairman who is on the run and understand he has now presented himself to the police? So fine, if you think something has been done. For instance, we have a case in Ewutu Senya West where minors are being registered, especially in the Senya area, and our people are being chased out of Senya area. We reported to the police. The police cannot handle it. We are saying how best we can handle it in this during the second phase. We're not talking about that. And other places where our people are being brutalized. And we have reported to the police. And the police are investigating. So if they think that such a thing as a criminal act has been committed, they should report to the police. So the police would investigate. And those guilty or those found culpable will be put before the court.
Hold on for me.
Advise their parties to do rather than crying wolf where there's no, rather than accusing the NDs. We abhor violence.
Hold on for me, Judge Lawson. Hold on for me. Let me speak with Samuel Uku. Samuel Uku, he is now turning the allegation back to you that it's rather the NPP that's causing these.
Well, I find it unfortunate. When I mentioned the Asokore Mampong area, they don't win at Asokore Mampong. It's part of Asawase constituency. However, it's part of the larger Ashanti region, which is the NPP stronghold. That is not a debate. The Volta region, we all know, is a stronghold of the NDC. What we're talking about is the vandalization of electoral materials at Asokore Mampong. This was news. You in your network even carried it over the weekend. Again, we're also talking about the Sunafo area. We've spoken about the Hanabisos area. I gave you an example of Apioso in the Ejuaseche Dumasi area. It's our seat now. But where the NDC feel they are losing out is either they also register minors or they bring intimidation. The police, in all these instances, we reported to the police. We've complained about the way that the lackadaisical attitude of the police when it has to do with the NPP being the victim. but they are quick to effect an arrest when the NDC is the victim. That is what we're talking about. And as a political party, we are not saying that we are totally helpless, but what we're saying is it is in all of us our collective interest. When issues come up, we sit down as a people, we report to the security agents. It is their job to make sure that there's peace and sanity in the system. Because if you leave it to the political parties, as Judge Lawson is talking, he said in Ewutu Senya West, the police cannot handle it. They are finding ways to handle it.
So how do you intend to handle
We as
yours?
a political party, we also find ways of handling it.
And how do you intend to do that? But because the police has assured that they are doing all they can.
The assurance, just giving a lip service assurance, is not what we need. The men on the ground must be fair. I heard the Sefasata talking about when there's no crime committed. When minors are registering, it's an offense against the laws of Ghana. Right. It goes against the letter and spirit of our constitution.
Exactly.
When somebody disrupts the electoral process, vandalizes it, it is an offense against the process. It is an offense against the constitution. So which crime again do you want it to perpetrate? That investigation be completed. So as a party, we cannot sit down for our agents to be intimidated. Our agents now will have to go to the centers, also at the back of their mind that they have a party protecting them.
Okay, so
yes.
Wouldn't that amount to causing fear and panic?
No. It amounts to protecting your interest and the interest of the Ghanaian people and the constitution of our country
But Judge Lawson made a point that you are rather the people causing all the things you're referring to the NDC.
So we will
will
abduct our people.
To that?
Well, I mean, I'm sure George is just playing politics. But you were very unfair to Samia. She's not here to debunk the claim that George said. George made a very serious allegation against the CPP candidate and former chairperson that in 2000, because she had money from Gaddafi, that cannot be authenticated on your network.
Of course,
and I think it's very unfair to her person.
He doesn't have evidence to prove
I think it's very unfair.
Unless, of course,
it's
George,
very unfair.
Do you have evidence to prove that?
Did she visit Gaddafi? Ask her whether she visited Gaddafi. And ask her if when she visited Gaddafi, the security was more than the head of state.
I think whether she visited Gaddafi or not, that's not the thrust of our conversation here. But you may have to prove evidence at a point when she takes you on. The issue now is that the NDC is now putting up their own strategy of handling it, because you said the police is not able to handle it. Is that what you're doing?
We have reported all those acts of violence to the police. We are not finding any other means of solving it. We've reported all those to the police. I'm talking of the police at post could not handle the Ewutu Senya, specifically the Senya area. We've reported to the higher command. The police at post could not handle the situation. Where our people could not even pick challenge from to challenge the minors that the NPP people were registering.
So are you confirming the fact that the police are looking on while these things are being committed?
Political party. We are law abiding political party. We can take the law into our own hands.
Mr. Lawson, are you confirming the fact that, or the allegation that the police are looking on while these things are being committed?
They've been overwhelmed. Are those police stations at Senya? They've been overwhelmed. Once overwhelmed, they cannot. So we've reported to higher authority for them to beef up the security there, so that our people can take challenge from and challenge the minors that the NP people are registering there.
Well, many thanks to you, Judge Lawson, for your time on today's big story. But I must say that the multimedia is distancing ourselves from that comment that Samia Yabankroma visited Gaddafi and he gave her money to bring people into the country in 2008 to vote for her. That's purely a statement from Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. So what do you want now?
Well, we have said the process is not stopping. The process is still ongoing. Tomorrow we enter into the next phase. I give you some instances again. On the campuses of education, and in fact it is clear the NDC has lost the youth of our country when it comes to this year's elections. University of Ghana has 14,000 to 16,000 potential voters. They have one station, one center. For the past 5 days, not more than 600 people or so have been registered. Fast forward to the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. They don't even have a polling station or a registration center on the campus. You have over 10,000 people willing to register. The center is outside the campus at Eduase. University of Cape Coast, they don't have a center on the campus. So it's clear that there's also a deliberate attempt to ensure that many of our youth do not get registered to vote. And we're saying that the Electoral Commission should not be an impediment between these students and the change they desire. That's
Let me speak with Dr. Bosman Asare. He's a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana. He joins us via phone. Good evening to you, Doc.
Good evening.
So how does it come across to you that the limited voters registration exercise has been characterized by accusations, counter-accusations, assaults, and death threats by the two main political rivals?
So I think in the first instance, I will say that, as a society, we are refusing to become a modern society. We keep on repeating mistakes that have been made in the past. As a country, as a community, we keep repeating them. And one key thing we must also establish is that when people become deeply involved in the affairs of political parties, it appears as if they are losing their bearings, their sense of judgment. They begin to justify things which are completely unacceptable. This is an exercise we have done for so many years. And this is something we've done about 6 times already. We've been registering people who are 18, etc. So how come our main political parties keep on repeating the mistakes of the past? So this is a clear indication that Ghanaians must be looking at our political leaders with a certain level of suspicion.
This certainly does not augur well and could have some implication on the upcoming elections. How dire can this be?
No, I think it's going to create a lot of problems, but we may end up having situations whereby people who are supposed to register, because of the intimidation tactics of some individuals, they may end up not getting the chance to do it. Ideally, in a one-listening system, which expects that anyone between 10, 18 on the November 6th to be allowed to register. But in Ghana, we don't have such a system in place. So the onus lies on the political parties to accept that there are certain rules governing our elections, and that if somebody is coming to register, the system should allow. If you have any reason to doubt, just go ahead and file the challenging form or something like that. But in a situation whereby some parties think that they can do A, B, C, and D in certain areas. And let's also be very clear, the police administration is an institution that's under the political authority. So literally, there are certain instances, especially if it's going to go against the ruling government, the police can easily crack the whip. But when you have a situation whereby it will go in favor of the opposition, the police is going to be unwilling to do that. And that's normal in many developed societies. So I expect that the political leaders of the various parties come to a consensus that no, this is an exercise which is good for the country. It must, under no circumstance should anyone be disenfranchised. But in situations whereby people are also deliberately encouraging people who are not supposed to register to do it, all these things are completely unacceptable for our country.
Many thanks to you, Dr. Bosman Asare, for your contribution to today's big story. That's all time will allow us, but I think your point has clearly been made that you are also thinking of a strategy to deal with the problem.
But let me also, in conclusion, commend the youth of our country for their determination and resilience in spite of the many frustrations that they face at the registration centers.
Many thanks to you,
I appreciate it.
For passing by. This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Good evening.